Tessa's parents, the emotional vampires that they are, gave her 8-year-old daughter Sophie a broken plastic horse for New Year's. From a bargain bin, with one leg snapped off. Then Tessa's dad announced in front of everyone, "She's the unfavorite granddaughter. The real presents are for your cousins." Sophie burst into tears. Everybody laughed. 20 minutes later, Tessa gave them a present they were still choking on. Tessa's parents had always made the family hierarchy painfully clear. Her sister Vanessa and her twin boys? Golden children. Her brother Mark? Acceptable, as long as he kept his head down and agreed with them Tessa? She was the workhorse. "Come early, Aaron. Cover the front desk, Aaron. Clean up the mess at the office when we're too tired to lift a finger. Aaron." They never bothered to adjust the script, even after Aaron became Tessa in the rest of her life. In that house, she stayed whatever version of herself made them feel most in control. But when it came to love and actual respect, suddenly there was a long line. Tessa was at the very end, if she was even in the building. Sophie wasn't in that line at all. As far as they were concerned, she barely qualified as a grandchild, just a prop. And yet, Tessa was a chronic optimist. The dumb kind. This year, she told herself, might finally be different. Her parents were getting older. Their health had started to wobble. Maybe it would finally click that they'd blown off 6 of Sophie's birthdays in a row. At least they could make the kid happy for New Year's. They had this family tradition. Gifts on New Year's Day, not Christmas. Don't ask. Some people skied, some people watched football. Her parents did carefully choreographed emotional damage. "Sophie," Tessa told her, "we're going to Grandma and Grandpa's for New Year's." Sophie literally jumped. She spent 2 days picking out a dress. She printed a photo of herself with Tessa's dad from last summer, when he'd let her hold his fishing rod on the river, and even smiled like a human. She still told that story like it was a fairy tale. On January 1st, they showed up early, presents in hand, like good little relatives. Tessa knew it was a mistake within 10 seconds. The house looked like a sporting goods catalog had exploded. Lights everywhere, decorations, a fake tree that could have hosted its own NFL halftime show. Her mom was smiling so hard her face looked frozen. Vanessa already had her phone out, filming everything for her Instagram stories. The twins, Blake and Dylan, were parked in front of a mountain of gifts, vibrating like they were at Disneyland. Sophie? Completely invisible. No hi, no Happy New Year, no hug. Nothing. She pressed herself into Tessa's side on the edge of the couch, clutching the photo in a little homemade frame, waiting. Then the present parade started. The nephews got everything. Brand new tablets, shiny bikes, name-brand sneakers, art sets with their names printed on them. Even Rocky, the family husky mix, got a big bag of treats from the pet store. Sophie sat and watched, polite like Tessa had taught her, while Tessa's insides boiled. Why had she let the kid hope? Finally, her mom reached under the tree and pulled out a sad, crumpled paper bag that looked like it had been stepped on half torn, tape barely holding. She stared at it like she didn't remember wrapping it, then silently handed it to Sophie. Inside was a cheap plastic horse from some dollar store dump bin. One leg snapped clean off, scratched up on the side, and someone had scribbled on it with permanent marker. Letters, doodles, who knew? It looked exactly like something you'd grab off a flea market tarp for $1. Sophie stared at the horse, didn't say a word. That was when Tessa's dad, already half buzzed, smirked and announced loud enough for the whole room. "She's the unfavorite one. The real presents are for your cousins." And the room howled. Adults, kids. Vanessa practically glowed with satisfaction. Tessa's mom didn't even twitch an eyebrow. Just went back to handing gifts to the real grandkids. Sophie's eyes filled instantly. She tried so hard to hold it in. Couldn't. She covered her little face with both hands and started sobbing. Tessa froze for 1 second. Not because she didn't care. Because something inside her clicked into place. Rage, shame, and this sharp, icy clarity all at once. Mark shot to his feet. "This is disgusting," he snapped. "You're humiliating a child in front of everyone." They had completely lost it by then. Tessa's dad barked, "Sit down and shut up." Vanessa rolled her eyes. Tessa took Sophie into the hallway to calm her down. The girl kept whispering through hiccups, "Maybe it's a mistake? Maybe my real present is in another room?" "No, sweetheart," Tessa said quietly. "That's it." She cried harder. That was it for Tessa, too. No more pretending this was just how family is. No more, "They're old school. They don't mean it." Enough. About 20 minutes later, the laughter in the living room had faded to lazy small talk. Vanessa was glued to her phone, posting proof of the perfect family holiday. Tessa's mom was cutting cake. Everyone was comfortable again. Tessa walked back in, calm. She went straight to the tree, carefully picked up the 2 expensive gifts she'd brought for her parents, the kind of thoughtful presents adult kids bought when they were still hoping to earn a little affection, and put them back into their bags. Her dad noticed first. "What are you doing?" he asked. She looked at all of them, even the kids, who were staring now, sensing a storm. "I hope you enjoyed your little show," Tessa said, "because I've got a New Year's gift for you, too." You could have heard a pin drop. "I'm done working for you." At first, they honestly thought she was joking. Her dad gave a nervous laugh. Her mom watched her like some seasoned community psychologist, confident Tessa would calm down in a minute. Vanessa rolled her eyes, leaned over to whisper something to her husband Kevin, and reached for a second slice of cake. So Tessa laid it out. "I've been preparing all year," she told them. "Taking classes, building contacts. Last week my investor, Olivia Banks from Chicago, signed the term sheet. I'm launching my own company. Not in some far-off niche, right in yours 2 blocks from your office. Direct competition. And we're doing everything by the book. Transparent structure, white paper payroll, no shady schemes, no nepotism, and definitely no humiliation as parenting." All those years, she'd been watching, learning. They'd thought she was just their overworked insurance mule, their free safety net. Her dad stopped smiling. He pushed back from the table and stood. "Do you have any idea what you're getting into?" he asked. "You don't have the guts for this." Her mom went pale. "Why would you do this to us?" she whispered. "What kind of daughter betrays her own family?" "It's pretty simple," Tessa said. "You don't treat me like a daughter, and you sure don't treat Sophie like a granddaughter. I'm not betraying a family. I'm getting away from a fire you've been feeding for years." Vanessa exploded. "You've always been jealous," she hissed. "You hate that my boys are more successful than your kid." "Successful?" Tessa repeated. "They're 8. They get tablets just for existing. Sophie made you a picture frame with her own hands. And what did you do? You used it as a backdrop while you humiliated her in front of everyone, and I'm supposed to be jealous of that?" Mark had heard enough. He came over, picked Sophie up from where she was standing in the hallway, clutching that broken horse, trying not to cry. "Come on, kiddo," he told her. "Let's go upstairs, make hot chocolate, and play Monopoly. We'll have a real holiday up there." Before he went, he met Tessa's eyes. "You're doing the right thing," he said quietly. "Should have happened a long time ago." Downstairs, her parents completely lost it. Her dad yelled that she was ungrateful, that she was walking away from everything they'd built for her. "I built it," she reminded him. "Every overtime, every late-night call, every mess you dumped on me because you couldn't be bothered. You only ever liked me when I shut up and worked myself sick." Tessa grabbed Sophie's coat, tucked the broken horse into her bag, and left. No dramatic door slam, no "you'll regret this" speech, just freedom. Sophie fell asleep in the car before they even hit downtown, pressed against the window, clutching the stuffed bunny Mark had slipped into her arms upstairs. She wasn't crying anymore. Her face showed something worse. That stunned, hollow quiet when something important inside a kid gets broken and they don't know how to put it back. Tessa hated them for doing that to her daughter. At home, she carried Sophie straight to bed, shoes and all. The girl didn't wake up. Tessa sat on the edge of the mattress and thought about how long she'd let this go on. She could have left years ago. Should have. But family had kept her hooked, as if that word alone meant anything. It doesn't. Not if humiliation is part of the package, that much she knew now. That same night, Tessa sent her resignation through their online HR system. No drama, no soul-bearing monologue, just facts. She wrote that she would no longer be working for them, that she was not their backup landing strip, that the midnight WhatsApp messages, emergency cleanups, and constant covering for their negligence were over. She hit send, then waited for the explosion. Nothing. For the first few days, it was dead quiet. No reply at all, like they'd decided to ignore it and hope it blew over. A week later, her mom texted her, as if nothing had happened. "Did Sophie like the horse?" she asked. "It was just a joke, you know. I didn't mean anything bad." Tessa didn't answer. Her silence must have infuriated them, because her dad messaged next. "You're overreacting. You'll regret this. You're not thinking clearly." Sure. Her head had never been clearer. January slid by in this strange, echoey calm. Sophie started asking harder questions. "Mom," she said one night, curling up next to Tessa on the couch, "did Grandma and Grandpa forget about me?" "Why do you think that?" Tessa asked. "Because if they remembered, they wouldn't laugh when I'm sad." Right between the ribs. "They didn't forget," Tessa said slowly. "But some adults only know how to love the version of a person that makes them feel in charge. Kids like you, with big hearts and quiet voices, don't show off enough. People like that just don't see you properly when what they really care about is control." Sophie didn't fully understand, but she nodded. Then she asked if she could have a pink music jewelry box with a ballerina. The same kind her cousins had gotten from Grandma and Grandpa for New Year's. Tessa bought it the next morning. She told Sophie it was from Grandma and Grandpa. She couldn't keep watching her kid feel not worthy of real presents because of two bitter adults. By mid-January, Tessa's own company, she called it New Course, already had its first 5 clients signed. Monday morning meetings at 9 a.m., people were calling them first. Even a few last names she recognized from her parents' circle started reaching out. Their investor, Olivia, turned out to be more than a wallet. She actually believed in the idea of building something honest and sustainable. She introduced Tessa to 2 former executives who wanted to collaborate and warned her to double-check their contracts for non-compete clauses. Within a few weeks, New Course had a small office in a downtown business center, a name and logo from a local designer, and 3 people on the team, all folks who'd left her parents' company, Vector, over the years because they were sick of the toxicity. By early February, they were up to 10 clients. 2 of them were long-term clients of her parents. Tessa hadn't poached anyone. She didn't call, didn't whisper. They came themselves, signed letters of intent. One of them told her, "I always figured you were the one holding that place together, and the bookkeeping over there was a mess unless you stepped in." Around that time, her phone went oddly silent in one specific direction. No messages from Vanessa, no guilt essays from her mom, no snide comments from her dad. But she did notice something else. Vanessa's Instagram started to shift. At first it was the usual breakfast shots, my perfect boys, cute filters. Then came the dramatic quotes about betrayal, family loyalty, snakes disguised as relatives. Subtlety had never been Vanessa's gift. Then, on a Tuesday, a white envelope showed up in Tessa's mailbox. Thick, with a gold border. No return address, but she recognized the handwriting immediately. Inside, an invitation to a family dinner at her parents' house. Only the closest. February 10th. Nothing formal. Just sit and talk. No apology. No mention of New Year's. Just warm, fake language about family and coming back together. Tessa stared at it for a long time. Not because she was tempted, because she finally understood. They didn't miss her. They needed her. The envelope sat on the kitchen table for days near Sophie's crayons and a half-eaten apple. Tessa walked past it, pretending not to care. She did care, but not about them changing. She knew they wouldn't. She was curious about their next move, Mark called. He'd gotten the same invite. He said he wasn't planning to go. But then something strange happened. Someone from their parents' office let it slip that their oldest, most reliable client had quietly canceled a contract 2 weeks earlier. No drama, no announcement, just gone. Funny thing, Mark added. That same client called you last Friday, didn't he? He had. I'll think about it, Tessa told her brother. Then, without telling anyone, she went. February 10th, half an hour crawling through traffic to their side of town. The street outside their house was cold, windy, and quieter than she remembered. She walked in through the front door, the way she used to, back when she still played their game. Her mom's face was a mix of surprise and calculation, dressed like she was expecting investors, not her daughter. Her dad was already at the dining table, reclined in his chair with a glass of brandy, trying to project nothing to see here, just a normal Sunday. Vanessa saw her and visibly winced. Tessa hadn't brought Sophie. She wasn't bringing her anywhere near that house again. Nobody asked where the child was. Her mom threw in a passive-aggressive line later about how Tessa was depriving them of their granddaughter. But that was it. They made small talk for about 30 minutes. Her dad rambled about the market slipping, competition getting more aggressive, things used to be easier. Her mom bragged that her friends still came to her for advice. Vanessa scrolled through photos of her boys, pretending her marriage wasn't falling apart. Then her dad cleared his throat, shifted gears. "We've been thinking," he said. "We understand now how much you contribute. We want to fix things, really fix them." He looked Tessa straight in the eye. "I'm offering you a partnership, equal shares, full control. Just come back." Her mom jumped on the emotional angle. They missed Sophie. Family wasn't perfect, but they were trying. Yes, mistakes were made, but they were willing to change. Vanessa sat there with a sour face, clearly expecting Tessa to beg for this honor. Tessa waited a long time. "I have a question," she said finally. "Why now? After all these years of insults, ignoring me, treating me like hired help, why this moment?" Her dad started talking about time healing all wounds. Her mom said something about spiritual renewal. So Tessa gave them the real answer. "Because your biggest clients are leaving," she said. "Because Ryan Mitchell, your head of project management, joined my team last week, and you barely noticed because your reputation is tanking and you think I'm your life raft." Vanessa snorted, splashing her wine. "You're delusional," she muttered. Tessa pulled out her own envelope. Same size, same gold border. She pushed it across the table to her dad. He opened it, expecting a signed agreement that she was crawling back. Instead, it was an offer, a buyout of their shares in Vector, based on an independent valuation. No tricks, just a clean exit. Enough for them to retire and save face by calling it a planned transition instead of the collapse it really was. Her dad's face turned beet red. Her mom went still, then sputtered, "How dare you? How dare you?" "It's a real offer," Tessa said. "We can sit down with attorneys and talk details, just not here. Definitely not in my office, where my team works." Her mom blinked like she hadn't heard her right, then shook her head, pitying. "Tessa, what happened to you? You used to be the reasonable one," she said. Tessa smiled. "Exactly. I started treating myself as well as I've always treated all of you, Wild, isn't it?" She left without asking for their blessing. She didn't need it. She had something better, her own life. The next few weeks were strangely peaceful. No screaming phone calls, no storms at her door. Instead, their little company kept growing. People called clients stayed. Olivia joked that they were scaling faster than her spreadsheets. They had to rent extra space on the floor above their office. Then the whispers started to reach Tessa. Apparently, her dad had gone to see their biggest client, Frank, the construction boss they'd worked with for decades, to warn him about the risks of dealing with her unstable new outfit. Frank listened, nodded, and called Tessa the next day. "Tessa," he said, chuckling, "I've known your father for 30 years. If he's this worried about your company, you must be doing something right. Let's increase our volume." Shortly after that, Tessa got a shaky phone call from Marion, her parents' longtime chief accountant, the woman who had practically held their entire operation together for 20 years. "I know you and your parents aren't on good terms," Marion said, voice trembling. "But I have to warn you. They're getting a full IRS field audit, 3 years of returns. Your dad is panicking. You know how the books were kept." Tessa did. Under-the-table salaries, backdated contracts, creative math masquerading as accounting, the exact stuff she'd been trying to drag them away from for years. "Thanks for telling me, Marion," she said, "but I don't work for them anymore." "I know," Marion sighed. "It's just a lot of years. Feels strange to watch it all fall apart like this." Saturday brought worse news. Vanessa had apparently decided to go through Sophie. Her homeroom teacher called Tessa that morning. "Tessa, we had a situation yesterday," the teacher said carefully. "Your sister showed up after school, said you'd asked her to pick Sophie up, but we can't release a child without written permission. She pushed pretty hard. We had to get security involved." Tessa's blood ran cold. Adult drama was one thing. Using her kid as a pawn? No. She called her lawyer. They sent formal instructions to the school. Only Tessa and Mark were allowed to pick Sophie up, nobody else. No exceptions. Sunday morning, Mark came over earlier than usual. He sat at her kitchen table for a long time, nursing his coffee in silence. "They had an emergency family meeting yesterday," he finally said. "Without me, obviously. I overheard." "Let me guess," Tessa said. "Strategizing about how to put me in my place?" He snorted. "Pretty much. Dad wants to bring in some hotshot corporate attorney from New York. Specialist in business wars." "And what did they decide?" she asked. "Nothing," he said. "Because while they were arguing, the IRS notice arrived. Field audit starts Monday." They looked at each other, and Mark just started laughing. "You know that old saying about deck chairs on the Titanic?" he said. "That's them." March came without major explosions, but with lots of small revelations. Not only clients, but employees from Vector started drifting their way. Kelly from sales was first. "Your parents treat people like disposable parts," she told Tessa. "You don't. I'd rather work where I'm not afraid to breathe." Then Hank, their old-school logistics guy. "I'm not a kid anymore," he muttered. "But I'm done working in chaos, and your dad has turned that office into a circus." By the end of March, their staff had grown to 15. They rented another office upstairs. The most unexpected phone call came that last week of March. It was Kevin, Vanessa's husband. "Sorry to bother you," he said, sounding exhausted. "Can we talk? Without Vanessa. Off the record." They met at a coffee shop downtown. He looked like he hadn't slept in a month. Stirred his coffee so long the spoon must have memorized the mug. "We're getting divorced," he said finally. "I can't do it anymore. New Year's was the last straw." He told Tessa that Vanessa had been telling the boys their aunt was the bad one who wants to destroy the family. Blake cried at night now, terrified that Grandpa would go bankrupt and they'd end up on the street. "I'm sorry," Tessa told him. "Don't." He waved it off. "This is on me. I stayed quiet too long. But the worst part? She doesn't even see she's doing to the kids exactly what your parents did to you. Same poison, new packaging." He was planning to move to another city, start over. The court would probably leave the kids with Vanessa. He'd get weekends. "Take care of Sophie," he said as they parted. She's a gem. You did the right thing getting out. I'm just late to the party. April started with yet another surprise. Marion showed up at their office in person, dressed for battle, big tote bag full of files. I'm quitting, she said. No small talk. Can't do it anymore. The audit had unearthed a mess. The fines were going to be huge, and Tessa's dad was trying to pin everything on her. I worked for them 30 years, Marion said. Now suddenly I'm the scapegoat. Tessa offered her the job of chief accountant at New Course on the spot. Marion almost cried. You'd really take me? I'm not exactly young anymore. Marion, Tessa said, you've been holding their business together alone. Of course I'll take you. With Marion came something they hadn't even expected. Their good clients. It turned out a lot of people had stuck with Tessa's parents purely because of Marion, the one who remembered every birthday, found compromises, actually cared. When she moved, they started calling New Course. By mid-April, Tessa's dad called her for the first time in 2 months. He sounded old. Tessa, we need to talk, he said. Seriously, no emotions, just business. Okay, she said. Come by with Mom tomorrow at 3. I'll have a conference room booked. Thank you, he exhaled and hung up. They showed up together. No Vanessa. According to her mom, she was busy with the divorce. They both looked rough. Her dad had lost weight. Her mom kept twisting a tissue in her hands. They sat down. Her dad pulled out a folder and set it in front of Tessa. We're ready to sell, he said. All of it. The IRS had hit them with penalties they couldn't pay. Clients were leaving. Marion was gone. They'd backed themselves into a corner. Her mom stared out the window for a while, then said quietly, We thought we were building an empire. Turns out it was a house of cards. You were right. Tessa read the documents. The offer was straightforward. Sale of their shares at market value, no hidden conditions. But once she factored in debts and penalties, the price was almost symbolic. I'll think about it, she said. You'll have my answer in a week. Her dad nodded, gathered the papers. At the door, her mom turned. Tessa. Sophie. Could I at least see her sometimes? She asked. I know I haven't earned it, but still. That's up to Sophie, Tessa said honestly. If she wants to. That evening, she sat with Mark and Marion at her kitchen table, papers spread out. Why do you need their problems? Mark asked. Our thing is doing fine. Marion surprised them both by defending the idea. Maybe you should, she said. Not for them. For the people still there. The ones who didn't do anything wrong. And honestly, that client list is worth saving. 3 days later, Frank called. I heard about your parents, he said. If you decide to buy, I'll loan you the money at 3%. Not charity, just a good investment in a reliable partner. You've proved you know what you're doing. Vector used to be a good firm. Shame to watch it die like this. In May, they closed the deal. Tessa bought Vector. She didn't keep the name. They folded both companies into New Course. Her parents got enough to pay off their debts and start a modest retirement. At the signing, her dad unexpectedly reached across the table and shook her hand. Thank you, he said. I know you're not doing this for us, but thank you anyway. Her mom cried quietly, trying to hide it. Before she left, she handed Tessa a small envelope. This is for Sophie, she said. From Grandma. Just a birthday card, if you'll allow it. At home that night, Tessa showed Sophie the card. The girl studied it for a long time. Is Grandma not mean anymore? She asked. I don't know, honey, Tessa answered. People change in different ways, but she's thinking about you. Maybe someday we'll visit them. When you're older. We'll see. June brought Sophie's elementary school graduation. She stood on stage in a white dress, reading a poem into the microphone with that serious little face of hers. In the audience, Tessa, Mark, Laura from their office, and Marion, who'd basically become a bonus grandma to Sophie. And at the very back, by the exit, stood two older people. Tessa's mom had her phone out, filming. Her dad just watched. They didn't come over, didn't make a scene, just stood, watched their granddaughter, and slipped away quietly. Sophie noticed. "Mom," she whispered later, tugging Tessa's sleeve. "That was Grandma and Grandpa, right?" "Yeah, sweetheart." "Why didn't they come say hi?" "Maybe they didn't want to distract from your day," Tessa said. Sophie thought about that, then waved vaguely in the direction of the door, but they were already gone. That night, when Tessa was tucking her in, Sophie said, "Mom, you know what? Our family is small, but it's real. That's better than a big one where everybody's pretending." Tessa kissed the top of her head. "Who taught you to be so wise?" she asked. "Uncle Mark," Sophie said. "He told me you don't need $100 if you've got a bunch of good friends. We don't have 100, but the ones we do have are awesome." She wasn't wrong. They didn't have 100 friends, but the ones they had were real, and their family, small as it was theirs. There was a note from Mark waiting on the kitchen table when Tessa came out. "Remember how we used to dream about our own company when we were kids?" he'd written. "Where everything's fair and people are treated right? Look around. We actually did it. Mom and Dad sowed the wind and reaped the storm. We sowed something else. Let's see what kind of harvest we get." He was right. They had planted something good, in the shape of a growing business, a loyal team, and most importantly, a happy kid who knew she was loved just for being herself, not for what she brought to the table. Tessa's late grandma used to say, "Don't go looking for better when things are already good." Turns out, she'd been wrong about that. Sometimes you do have to walk away from the familiar good to find the real thing, the kind without strings, without manipulation, without broken plastic horses and public humiliation. They'd found it. They'd built it themselves. So what do you think? Did she go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.